At the start of the story, we see a quiet Korean town where the female lead, Yoonbu, lives. Yoonbu is a gentle and innocent schoolteacher. In her dream, a well-dressed rich woman suddenly appears and slaps her. Yoonbu wakes up and explains that she has been seeing the same strange dream for an entire year. Every day the same woman appears and slaps her, but Yoonbu has no idea who she is or why this keeps happening. After waking up, Yoonbu gets ready for school. As always, she promises herself that she will not smile, talk to anyone, or enjoy anything. She arrives at school with a blank, emotionless face. The other teachers whisper about her, saying that she never talks or laughs. She's been like this for a whole year since she transferred there, which makes everyone think she's very strange. Yoonbu lives as a tenant in Miss Hauk's house, but she has never spoken to her landlord. Whenever she comes to pay the rent, she only nods silently and leaves. At school, we also meet Han, the most handsome and popular boy among the students. Almost every girl admires him and dreams of marrying him. But Han ignores them all. One day, he quickly runs to teacher Jong to speak with him privately. Meanwhile, Yoonbu remembers her past. She used to live in Seoul and was once cheerful, friendly, and full of life. She loved making people laugh and was a favorite teacher among her students. Compared to her past self, she now seems completely withdrawn and distant. Soon after, Miss Hee-suk reminds Yoonbu about locking the classroom door and offers her an extra key, but Yoonbu simply shakes her head and walks away again. Later, the teachers gather for a meeting where the principal talks about the upcoming exams and the parent-teacher meeting that will follow. During the meeting, strong winter winds blow through the window and someone goes to close it. Suddenly, Miss Hee-suk notices something outside and shouts in alarm. Everyone rushes to the window and panic spreads across the room. A tall, muscular man with tattoos is walking toward the school through the falling snow. His name is Jae, and his arrival terrifies everyone. The moment Jae approaches, chaos breaks out in the school. Teachers hide wherever they can under tables, behind doors, even in the restroom. The principal quickly locks himself in the bathroom, while others crouch in fear. One teacher even grabs a flower pot as if preparing to defend himself. Yoonbu, however, stands there confused because she has no idea what is happening. Suddenly, Jae kicks the door open and walks inside. The loud crash frightens everyone, and the flower pot falls and shatters. Jae calmly greets everyone while Yoonbu stares at him, surprised by how handsome he looks despite his intimidating appearance. Soon it is revealed that this feared man is actually Han's uncle. Jae asks for teacher Jong, but the teachers lie and say he is not there, even though he is hiding under the table. Jae sits down and waits. Meanwhile, Ms. Hee-suk accidentally opens the restroom door, causing the principal to stumble out nervously. Jae demands to know why Han was denied an award. The school had decided not to give Han the prize because he supposedly had no parents to attend the ceremony. Jae angrily insists that Han deserves the award and orders them to call teacher Jong immediately. The terrified principal tries to calm him down and even asks Yoonbu to bring coffee for Jae. However, Jae scolds him, saying it is shameful to make a girl serve him, and says he will prepare his own coffee. When Jae walks over to Yoonbu, he suddenly compliments her beauty, which makes Yoonbu tremble with fear. Meanwhile, outside the school, we meet Sejun, a beautiful teenage girl who keeps sending messages to a boy who hasn't replied to her for months, showing how much she likes him. Han approaches her and asks if she would like to have dinner with him, but Sejun harshly rejects him and tells him to leave. Her cruel words hurt Han deeply, and he walks away sadly. His friends later tell him that his Uncle Jae is at the school, and that they informed him about the award problem. Hearing this, Han becomes terrified and immediately runs back to school. Back at the school, Jae continues arguing with the teachers. The principal suggests going outside for a cigarette, but Jae angrily scolds him for thinking about smoking inside a school. In frustration, Jae punches the table so hard that it breaks, revealing teacher Jong hiding underneath with fear. Jae declares proudly that Han is like his own child and that he raised him like a parent. After saying this, he leaves the room. Yoonbu quietly reflects on his words and feels that, despite his rough behavior, he was not entirely wrong. Curious, Yoonbu finally asks the other teachers if Jae is truly Han's uncle. Everyone suddenly turns to look at her in shock, because it is the first time she has spoken in an entire year. They are surprised to realize that she is not mute after all. The teachers then explain that Jae is a dangerous gangster who leads a group of thugs. Teacher Jong recalls a time when Jae started a huge fight in a cafe and destroyed the whole place. Miss Hee-suk adds another frightening story, saying that once while walking on a hill, she saw Jae digging a hole as if he was burying a dead body. These stories make it clear why everyone in the school is so terrified of him. One teacher adds another scary story about Jay, saying he once saw him lift a car with his bare hands. Everyone believes Jay is extremely dangerous. Just then Han arrives at school, and the principal immediately scolds him for allowing his uncle to come there again. Meanwhile, Yunbu quietly starts cleaning the broken flower pot, and Han helps her pick up the pieces. After school, Yunbu goes out to buy groceries. On her phone, she sees messages from her father in Seoul asking if she is okay and telling her that he cooked her favorite food and wishes she were there. But Yunbu ignores the messages, hinting that something painful from her past still troubles her. When Yunbu reaches home, she realizes the door won't open because her key has broken, just like Miss Hiskik warned earlier. Frustrated, she throws the broken key away and begins walking to ask for a spare key. Suddenly the streetlights flicker, and she notices a tall man wearing a black cap and holding something sharp in his hand. It is Jay. Seeing him like that frightens her, and she starts running while even dialing the police. Jay chases after her and pokes her from behind with what looks like a knife. Yunbu freezes in shock, thinking she has been stabbed. But soon it turns out the knife is actually food wrapped in a stick, and the liquid she felt was only juice, not blood. Jay laughs and asks why she called the police. Terrified, Yunbu begs him not to kill her, explaining that no one would even attend her funeral because her family lives far away in Seoul. Jay then reveals that his tattoos are fake and just something he wore to look cool. Still scared, Yunbu runs back to her house. Jay follows and realizes she lives there. When she explains that the door is locked, Jay jumps through a window and opens the door from inside. Then he complains that the food he was carrying got ruined because of her and demands she pay for it. His threatening tone scares Yunbu so much that she quickly runs away again. Later that night, Jay returns home where Han is cooking dinner. Jay begins cleaning and admiring Han's trophies, showing how proud he is of him. He then asks Han about the beautiful teacher he saw earlier. Han tells him her name is Yunbu and that she is from Seoul. Han also asks his uncle not to come to school again because he can handle his own problems. Jay agrees but says that if Han ever needs help, he can do anything, even fight or kidnap someone for him. Han clearly feels uncomfortable with such words. Afterward, Jay talks with Han's friend Jun and wonders if Yunbu has forgotten about him. A short memory is shown where a drunk Yunbu once fell and Jay caught her. At that time, she had told him he was very handsome. The same words Jay said to her earlier. This shows that they had met before, though Yunbu no longer remembers it. Jay looks at the sky and talks about spring arriving, wondering if Yunbu will remember him. The next day at school, Yunbu reminds her students about the upcoming parent-teacher meeting. Sejun says she will not bring her parents because Han also doesn't bring his. When Yunbu asks why, Sejun explains that her parents are busy government officials who barely pay attention to her, making her feel invisible. Yunbu feels shocked and saddened hearing this. Later she begins calling parents from the student list to invite them to the meeting, and soon she reaches Han's name. That means she must call Jay. The thought alone terrifies her because of what happened the night before. Teacher Jong warns her not to call him because he might be dangerous, but Miss Heesuk encourages her to do it anyway. As Yunbu nervously makes the call, all the teachers secretly gather around to listen. At that moment, Jay is eating with his group at a restaurant after asking the owner about overdue rent. While they are eating, Yunbu's call arrives. She politely tells him about the parent-teacher meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Jay jokingly says he will come immediately, but she quickly explains it must be tomorrow. He agrees, but teasingly says she will have to wait for him. After hanging up, Yunbu panics and grabs Miss Heesuk, convinced that Jay will come to take revenge on her. To help her deal with him confidently, Miss Heesuk takes Yunbu to a restaurant and shows her how to speak boldly to rude people. She even gives Yunbu a makeover and changes her hairstyle. The next day, Yunbu arrives at school looking stunning, which surprises everyone. The teachers think it might be her birthday, but she denies it. After classes end, the teachers quickly run away because Jay is coming for the meeting. Yunbu desperately asks Han to stay with her, but he says he has work and leaves. Now she must face Jay alone. Soon Jay arrives carrying a large flower pot to replace the one he broke earlier. Meanwhile, the story briefly shifts to Seoul, where we meet Hun Suk, a lawyer who has been searching for a criminal for 10 years. Even his colleague thinks the criminal might already be dead, but Hun Suk refuses to give up. A flashback shows him being badly beaten during his school days. The man he has been hunting all these years is none other than Jay. Back at the school, Jay greets Yunbu politely and gives her the flower pot as an apology. He sits down for the meeting, but because he is so tall, the small table feels uncomfortable, so he moves it aside and sits closer to her. This only makes Yunbu more nervous. Jae casually mentions that he is also from Seoul because his mother was from there. Yunbu then asks about Han and why he refuses to go to university. Jae simply shrugs and tells her not to worry about it. Jae casually tells Yunbu that he doesn't care whether Han goes to university or not. For him, finishing school is enough. Then he suddenly asks Yunbu her age, but she quickly stops him, saying she doesn't answer personal questions, and ends the meeting. While talking about Han, Jae jokingly calls him Bomb. Hearing that word shocks Yunbu, as if it reminds her of something from the past. Later, Han is leaving school when Shangjin stops him and apologizes. She feels guilty for mentioning his parents in class earlier. Han quietly takes her phone, saves his number in it, and tells her to call him whenever she has a problem. Sojin finds him strange but thoughtful, and she saves his contact as Evil Han. The next day at school, Yunbu is teaching when the large flower pot Jae brought is placed in front of the board, blocking the students' view. The children say they should remove it. One of them mentions that Jae brought it, which surprises Yunbu. The child then points out that Jae even wrote his name on the pot. The teachers try to carry it outside, but it is so heavy that even 3 people struggle to lift it. Just then Jae appears, easily picks it up with one hand, and asks why they are throwing away his gift. Yunbu explains that there is no space for it in the classroom. Jae puts the pot in his car and insists Yunbu come with him. Nervously, she sits in the car as he drives away. While riding with him, Yunbu secretly stares at him, thinking about how handsome he is. Jae notices and teases her, asking if she missed him. Embarrassed and frightened, she denies it and asks if they have met before. Jae only tells her to think about it herself. This makes Yunbu start wondering if he might have been someone important in her past. Jae takes Yunbu to her house and places the flower pot outside with his name clearly visible. Yunbu quickly hides the name, feeling awkward. Jae then asks her to make him coffee like people do when welcoming guests from Seoul. Yunbu awkwardly replies that she doesn't have the equipment to make coffee at home, and promises she will make it next time. Jae simply leaves. Soon after, Yunbu receives a call from teacher Jong, asking her to supervise some students at his club because he cannot come. She tries to refuse, but he hangs up. Frustrated, Yunbu thinks life was easier when she stayed silent because now everyone keeps giving her extra work. Just then, another call comes. Thinking it is Jong again, she answers angrily, but it is actually her father from Seoul. He apologizes and says he wants to explain something he did wrong in the past. Hearing his voice makes Yunbu emotional, and she quickly ends the call while crying. At that moment, Jae appears again with coffee and notices her tears. He gives her some sweets and tells her that eating something sweet helps when someone feels sad. His words remind Yunbu of a memory where a boy once told her the exact same thing, though she cannot remember his face. Meanwhile in Seoul, Yunbu's mother visits a lawyer named Han Suk. She asks him to find someone for her. Han Suk thinks she means a criminal, but she actually asks him to locate her missing daughter Yunbu. A flashback shows a young Yunbu visiting an exhibition with her mother many years ago, where Han Suk first saw her. Her mother explains that Yunbu ran away from home after they had a fight, but she refuses to reveal what exactly she said to hurt her daughter so badly. At the same time, the police are questioning Jae about something, and he casually gives a sweet to the officer, joking that it will help when he feels sad. Outside, Yunbu keeps thinking about Jae and wonders why his voice sounds so familiar. Soon she notices several tough-looking men nearby who treat Jae with great respect and even cook food for him. Watching them care for him makes Yunbu wonder what kind of person he really is. Later, Yunbu goes to Jong's club to teach the children, but the students quickly become bored. They complain that another class is going on a trip while theirs is not. One child says it's because Yunbu is just a temporary teacher who might soon return to Seoul. The children then suggest visiting a plant where Han's uncle works. Hearing Jae's name again surprises Yunbu because she thought he was a gangster. The kids get excited about the idea, but Yunbu refuses and says they will visit a different plant instead. Meanwhile, we see Jae actually working at a factory. He works harder than everyone else, lifting heavy materials without taking breaks. While he is there, Han's friend Dong secretly calls him and tells him everything that happened in class, including the discussion about the field trip. Later that evening, as Yunbu walks home, Jae suddenly appears and asks why she stopped the students from visiting his workplace. Yunbu is shocked that he knows about the conversation and jokingly asks if he has cameras in her classroom. Jae explains that the kids think he is just a gangster, and he wants them to see that he works honestly and very hard. Hearing this makes Yoonbu realize that maybe she judged him too quickly. Jae then suggests that she visit the factory herself over the weekend to see what it is really like before deciding about the trip. Yoonbu is shocked when Jae suddenly suggests taking her to his factory over the weekend. She quickly tries to refuse, but Jae confidently says it's already decided and walks away before she can argue. Meanwhile, we see Sejun at home. Her parents are scolding her harshly because she came second in class instead of first. Their words hurt her deeply. Feeling frustrated and lonely, she runs to her room and starts crying while texting a boy named Chen, who rarely replies to her messages. She begs him to let her stay at his house for the weekend. At the same time, Jae returns home and tells Han that everything is arranged and the class will visit his factory. Han asks if he argued with Miss Yoonbu, but Jae says she agreed. Han then explains that Yoonbu is only a temporary exchange teacher and will soon return to Seoul, where her family lives. Hearing this, Jae remembers how Yoonbu was crying before and wonders if she misses her family. The weekend finally arrives. Yoonbu stands quietly in front of the flower pot Jae gave her, thinking to herself that she doesn't want to smile or enjoy anything anymore. Just then, Jae arrives to take her to the factory. Yoonbu asks where Han is, but it turns out Han is already in the car, sitting in the back seat. This forces Yoonbu to sit in the front beside Jae. During the drive, Jae jokes that Yoonbu always dresses in black like she's attending a funeral. Yoonbu immediately fires back, teasing him about his own dramatic style and saying he walks around like a hero. Their playful argument is suddenly interrupted when Han receives a message from Sejun. Without explaining anything, he quickly jumps out of the car and runs away. Now Jae and Yoonbu are left alone, and since Han was supposed to guide them to the factory, they can't continue the trip. Jae suggests going hiking nearby, but Yoonbu insists they should instead go to a restaurant. Meanwhile, Han rushes to the bus station because Sejun had texted him saying she was leaving town. When he finds her, she explains that her parents constantly pressure her to come first in class, and she feels she can never do that while Han is always the top student. Feeling hopeless, she boards the bus to run away, still texting her boyfriend Chen. Han asks who she keeps messaging, and Sejun says he is the only person who accepts her even when she comes second. As the bus leaves, Han secretly gets on as well to follow her. Back at the restaurant, Jae and Yoonbu sit down to eat at the same rough place where the rude owner once insulted her. The owner continues speaking harshly, making Yoonbu uncomfortable. Jae orders food and insists Yoonbu eat with him. While they eat, Yoonbu asks about the day she saw him at the police station. Jae explains that he had moved a car blocking the road so an ambulance could pass, but the car owner misunderstood and filed a complaint. Yoonbu then asks about teacher Zhang's injured hand, thinking Jae might have hurt him. Jae explains that one day he saw Zhang and some friends gambling and behaving badly despite being teachers. Angry at their behavior, Jae confronted them, and Zhang got hurt while running away. After the meal, Yoonbu notices that Jae suddenly looks unwell. It turns out he is having an allergic reaction and quickly takes some medicine. Yoonbu asks why he ate the food even though he knew it would cause a reaction. Jae calmly replies that he didn't want her to eat alone. Hearing this surprises Yoonbu, and she gently helps apply medicine. Jae suddenly stands up as a strange shock runs through his body. Since Yoonbu had just touched him while helping with the medicine, he feels extremely restless and full of energy. Without thinking, he lifts Yoonbu slightly off the bench where she's sitting. It's clear this is the first time a girl has touched him like that. After a moment, he calms down and awkwardly tells her not to touch him again. Just then, Han calls and asks Jae to come pick him up. Yoonbu quickly says she will come along too. When Jae mentions that Han is in Seoul, Yoonbu suddenly freezes. The name of the city brings back painful memories. We are shown her past in Seoul. Back then, Yoonbu was a cheerful and popular teacher. Students loved her, and parents respected her. During a parent-teacher meeting, she was warmly greeting everyone when a strange older man introduced himself as one of the students' fathers. Later, that same man began sending Yoonbu disgusting messages and calling her with inappropriate suggestions. Soon after, his wealthy wife came to the school and slapped Yoonbu in front of everyone. After that incident, rumors spread quickly. Students started believing she was trying to trap rich men, and the teacher who was once admired became someone people whispered about. That humiliation completely changed Yoonbu's life. Meanwhile, Seo-jin is running away while Han chases after her. She angrily tells him to leave her alone, but Han calmly asks her to at least eat lunch with him before she goes. They sit together for hours. Seo-jin explains that she dreams of entering Seoul University and wants to be first in class. But Han always comes first, even though he doesn't even care about college. Han then asks what it feels like to live with parents. Sojin sighs and says living with parents can be very painful. Just then, her mysterious boyfriend texts her again, and she leaves quickly while Han follows behind. Back at school, some teachers who earlier struggled to lift Jae's heavy flower pot are now training for the upcoming sports day. They complain and joke around while trying to improve their fitness. Soon Yunbu and Jae arrive in Seoul looking for Han, but they can't find him. At the same time, Sojin finally meets the man she has been texting. The audience can't see his face clearly, but he looks much older than her. Seojin happily talks with him and follows him toward his house. Yunbu happens to see them and becomes worried. She immediately calls Jae and tells him that Seojin is going somewhere alone with a strange man. Jae tells her to meet him at the next subway stop and rushes there. Meanwhile, Sojin notices Yunbu following her and runs away. At that moment, Jae suddenly jumps toward Yunbu in the crowded station and catches her as she slips. That touch triggers a memory for Yunbu. She remembers that Jae once caught her the same way in the past. Yunbu quickly points toward the man Seojin met. Jae angrily grabs him, but to everyone's surprise, the man turns out to be Eun-suk, the lawyer from Seoul, who has been searching for Jae for 10 years. Both men recognize each other immediately. Jae angrily demands to know where Sejunin is and what the man planned to do with her. But Eun-suk calmly says he has been searching for Jae for a decade and expected at least a greeting after finally meeting him. Jae is ready to start a fight, but Yunbu quickly steps in and stops him, saying that Seojin is her student and they must first make sure she's safe. Eun-suk then explains the truth. Seojin didn't run away. She simply came to stay with her older brother for the weekend. The brother he is talking about is himself. Seojin quietly steps forward and confirms it. Hearing this, everyone feels embarrassed about the misunderstanding. Later, they all head back together. Han feels ashamed because he caused so much trouble thinking the man was Sejin's boyfriend. Yunbu gently tells him that mistakes happen, but helping each other is what family and friends should do. Jae also comforts Han with similar words. At Eun-suk's house, Seojin becomes curious and asks how he knows Jae and Yunbu. Eun-suk avoids the question and instead asks about Han's family. This leads to a flashback from years ago. In the past, Jae was a teenager attending school while taking care of a small child Han. Han often cried during class, disturbing everyone. Jae explained that Han's parents were away most of the time, so he had to look after him. One of Jae's classmates back then was Eun-suk, who was the smartest student in school. One day Eun-suk left a large amount of money in Jae's locker, and Jae ended up taking it. The reason for that money is still a mystery. Back in the present, Yunbu asks Jae about his connection with Eun-suk. Jae avoids the question and says he doesn't know him well, even though Eun-suk claims he has been searching for him for 10 years. After a long drive, Jae stops at a hotel because Han is exhausted and falling asleep. Yunbu is surprised and asks why they aren't going home. Jae explains they've been driving for hours and need to rest. At the reception desk, they learn that only one family room with 2 beds is available. Yunbu strongly refuses, but Jae books it anyway, joking that they are like a family. When they enter the room, Yunbu realizes it is actually a romantic couple's room, decorated with flowers and hearts. She quickly removes all the decorations in embarrassment. Jae casually tells her to go take a bath, but she insists he should go first. Eventually, Han goes to shower, while Jae starts exercising in the room. Jae tries to make Yunbu help with his workout by asking her to sit on him or hold his legs, but she refuses each time. Annoyed, he keeps exercising until their faces come very close, making Yunbu extremely uncomfortable. She tells him to go work out in the gym instead, and Jae leaves. A little later, his phone rings in the room. Yunbu sees a call from a girl and decides to return the phone to him in the gym. When she arrives there, she suddenly notices a child drowning in the swimming pool nearby. Without hesitation, Jae jumps into the water to save the child while a dramatic shark video is playing on the big screen behind them. The child gets scared and runs away thinking the situation is dangerous. Jae quickly jumps in and manages to pull the child out of the water. Instead of thanking him, the child blames Jae for frightening him. The boy's mother angrily slaps Jae and walks away. Watching this scene, Yunbu is reminded of a painful memory from her past. A woman once slapped her the same way, accusing her of trying to steal her husband and sending him messages to meet at a hotel. Yunbu tried to explain that she never sent those messages, and that the husband was the one contacting her. But the woman refused to believe her and attacked her in anger. Back in the present, Yunbu tries to comfort Jae. She tells him that he saved the child and that the mother will eventually realize the truth and apologize. Meanwhile, at school, the teachers are practicing together when Miss Hisuk accidentally hits one teacher badly. The poor man is in terrible pain and struggles to walk. She apologizes and suggests going to the hospital, but he jokingly refuses and even asks if she will marry him instead. She becomes speechless. Later, the child's mother is shown the CCTV footage and finally learns the truth. Feeling ashamed, she apologizes to Jae. That night, everyone gathers in the room. Han keeps messaging Sejin, but she ignores him. Jae tells him to stop and go to sleep. Suddenly, Sejin calls, and Han rushes out excitedly while Yinbu tries to stop him, creating a funny moment. After Han leaves, the atmosphere becomes awkward as Jae and Yunbu avoid looking at each other. Elsewhere, Hoon-suk takes Seojin back to her hometown and calls Yunbu's mother to tell her that Yunbu has been found with the boy who disappeared 10 years ago. Her mother remembers him as the same boy who ran away with their money and asks for Yunbu's address. However, Hoon-seok refuses and demands to know why Yunbu ran away from home in the first place. The story briefly flashes back to when Hoon-suk first saw Seojin at her mother's exhibition and was instantly captivated by her. In the present, Seojin wakes up and invites Hoon-suk to stay in the village, asking him to teach her so she can beat Han academically. Soon everyone returns to the village. Yunbu decides not to tell anyone what happened between her and Jae in the hotel room. But Jae suddenly appears and returns one of her lost earbuds that she left in the Seoul hotel. Miss Hisuk overhears this and starts questioning Yunbu suspiciously. Yunbu quickly explains that they went there to help Han's friend and that Jae even saved a child there. Still, Miss Hisuk warns the other teachers that Jae might be a dangerous man. She recalls seeing him with a crying woman once and assumes that she was his wife and that Jae might actually be Han's father, not his uncle. Hearing this shocks Yunbu. Meanwhile, Sojin walks around with confidence while Han tries to apologize again. He explains that he thought Hoon-suk might hurt her, which is why he brought everyone to rescue her. Sojin mocks him and says he only did it to protect his academic ranking. Han then offers to help her get first place and gives her notes that will appear on the final exam. On the way home in the rain, Yunbu sees Jae tearing open a roadside drain and scolds him for damaging government property. But she soon realizes he is actually rescuing a dog trapped inside. Jae carefully pulls the injured dog out and takes it to the hospital. To keep the wet dog warm, he covers it with his shirt and walks inside shirtless, which makes the nurse stare at him awkwardly while doing her job. While there, Yunbu notices many burn scars on Jae's shoulders and hands. Jae tries to hide them, but Yunbu tells him they are not something to be ashamed of because they show bravery. Just then, the doctor assumes Jae is Han's father. Yunbu quickly says he is only the uncle, but Jae quietly admits that he is indeed Han's father. Yunbu is shocked by this sudden revelation. Later, the truth becomes clear when the doctor hands them the paperwork. The Han mentioned there is actually the dog's name. Jae had written the dog's parents as himself and Yunbu. Confused, Yunbu asks why he named the dog Han. Jae casually explains that the nurse seems suspicious, so he simply wrote that name to avoid unnecessary questions. Jae admits he couldn't think of a proper name for the dog, so he simply wrote Han's name on the form and jokingly suggests naming it Bombsick. Yunbu points out that the dog might actually be female. To prove it, Jae lifts the dog to show her, which embarrasses Yunbu instantly. After the checkup, the doctor says the dog has stomach problems and must stay in the hospital for a few days. Yunbu offers to take care of it if no one else comes. Later, Jae and Yunbu go to a small restaurant where the owner mistakes them for a married couple. Playing along, Jae says they even have a son. The owner laughs and jokes that sons are troublesome, so they should try again for a daughter. He even promises to cook them a special meal so they'll have the energy to work hard that night. The awkward conversation leaves Yunbu embarrassed. While eating, Yunbu talks about her plans and suggests that they should train together more often because she wants to meet him regularly. Jae is stunned because no girl has ever spoken to him so openly before. The next day, he tells his friend June about it. June quickly concludes that Yunbu must have feelings for him. At first, Jae doubts it, but June fills his head with signs that supposedly prove she likes him compliments, dressing nicely and spending time together. Soon the day comes when Jae and Yunbu meet again. After taking a bath and getting ready, Jae notices Yunbu dressed differently from usual, which makes him think she might really like him. She takes him to a place, feeds him kindly, and treats him warmly. Jae feels hopeful and thinks his friend might be right about her feelings. However, Yunbu suddenly reveals something unexpected. She says she remembers where they first met, and the story flashes back to a year ago when she had just arrived in the village. That night she was drinking heavily in a restaurant and was extremely drunk. The staff worried she might harm herself. Jay happened to be there with his friends and noticed her condition. He helped her sit down, comforted her, and advised her not to drink so much. He even bought her food and kindly asked about her name and where she came from. At that time, Yonbu had drunkenly called him handsome. Back in the present, Yonbu reveals that she purposely wore the same dress she had that night. She was simply recreating the moment to repay his kindness. She even gives him the same red drink he bought her back then and says the score between them is now settled. Jay is heartbroken because he thought she liked him, but she was only returning a favor. Before leaving, Jay asks if she really intended to die that night. A brief flashback shows that she had almost stepped in front of a truck while drunk, and Jay had rushed forward to save her. Jay gently asks what happened to her in Seoul, but Yunbu becomes angry and tells him to mind his own business. She reminds him that he is only her student's uncle, not her friend, and walks away coldly. The next day, Yunbu vents her frustration by kicking a plant that Jay gave her. While doing this, a bee starts chasing her and she accidentally bumps into Hyunsuk, who gets stung instead. After treating the sting, Hyunsuk thanks her again for caring about Seojin earlier and gives her some delicious food. Yunbu enjoys it so much that he gives her his card and tells her to call him again. Meanwhile, Jay feels miserable. He wants to apologize to Yunbu, but doesn't know how. When his friend Jun asks how things are going, Jay simply tells him to stop talking and returns to work. At school, the teachers are practicing self-defense again when Jay suddenly appears dressed in black. Everyone becomes nervous because they originally learned fighting skills to deal with him, but now he has arrived as their instructor. Chaos follows as the teachers try to escape while Jay easily overpowers them. Later, Yunbu calls her landlady complaining about bees entering her house and asks how to get rid of them. Jay overhears this conversation. The next day, during preparations for the school's sports day, Miss Heestuk tells Yunbu about a man who specializes in removing bees for a small fee. Yunbu is thrilled and decides to hire him. That evening, Yunbu tastes the food Hyunsuk gave her, and it reminds her of her childhood when her father used to cook the same dish. Emotional memories make her cry, and she almost calls Hyunsuk to thank him. Just then, the mysterious bee remover arrives, fully covered in protective gear. Yunbu leads him to the plant and tells him to remove the bees, even if it means destroying the plant Jay gave her. The man removes the hive without asking for payment. Yunbu is surprised and jokingly tells him he can also cut down the nearby tree. While he works, she offers him coffee. During this time, Hyunsuk calls her, and she happily thanks him for the meal. The bee remover overhears everything. It turns out that the bee remover is actually Jay in disguise. When Jay hears Yunbu planning to meet Hyunsuk at a cafe later that evening, he becomes deeply jealous. In anger, he starts chopping the tree with an axe, and it almost falls on Yunbu. At the last moment, he catches it, revealing his identity when she notices his tattoo. Elsewhere, Han secretly watches Seojin and tries to help her again, but she mocks him for being weak and promises to defeat him during sports day since they are on opposite teams. Meanwhile, Yunbu realizes that Jay disguised himself as the bee remover just to help her. Still upset, she tells him to stay away and accuses him of acting like a stalker. Jay insists he only wanted to help, but Yunbu gives him money and leaves. Later, Yunbu meets Hyunsuk at a cafe. They talk comfortably and begin bonding over their hobbies. Unfortunately, Jay secretly follows them and overhears their conversation. When Hyunsuk says it's better not to talk about painful pasts and that villagers often ask stupid questions, Jay mistakenly thinks they are talking about him. Hurt by this, he quietly walks away. Finally, Jay returns to the hospital to sit beside his injured dog. It is revealed that the tattoo on his hand is actually there to hide a scar, hinting that there is still more to his past that people don't know. Jay regrets asking about Yunbu's past. His mind fills with questions. Why did he try to help her? And why do people from Seoul speak so strangely about villagers like him? Determined to prove them wrong, he keeps wondering how he can change their opinion. Meanwhile, Hyun returns an empty lunchbox to Yunbu's father. He had cooked the same dish for Yunbu before, which is why the taste reminded her of home and made her emotional. Hyunsuk then asks Yunbu's parents what really happened. Through their explanation, the truth finally comes out. When Yunbu was falsely accused of having an affair with a student's father, she wanted to file a legal case against the people who insulted her. But her mother, who is a celebrity, feared the scandal would spread across the media and damage their reputation. Because of this, Yunbu's mother refused to fight the case. Yunbu's reputation was destroyed, and people labeled her as an immoral teacher. The worst moment came when even her own father asked why she had done such a thing. Hearing that broke Yunbu completely, because it showed that even he didn't trust her. Now her parents deeply regret letting their daughter leave home. To correct their mistake, they gather evidence proving her innocence and appoint Hunsok as her lawyer to reopen the case and clear her name. At school, preparations begin for the sports tournament. Team captains are chosen. Jae becomes the leader of the white team, while Hunsok leads the blue team. Soon both teams start training. Jae focuses on building strength, while Hunsok teaches smart strategies. Their rivalry quickly becomes intense. Han later pulls Sojin aside and complains that Jae has come to the event. Sojin gets irritated and says Han only creates trouble for her. That evening at the hospital, Jae and Yunbu meet again while visiting the dog. Instead of talking directly, they awkwardly speak to the dog while indirectly addressing each other, creating a funny yet tense moment. On sports day morning, Jae prepares a meal for Han, but Han surprisingly asks him not to participate in the competition. He explains that Seojin is on the blue team and wants them to win. If Jae competes, Yunbu's team will lose. Jae is confused because he thought Yunbu was on the white team. Han explains that she was forced onto the blue team, so he begs Jae to stay out of the game. Because of this promise, Jae suddenly stops training his team seriously. He even secretly gives Hunsok advice on how to win. Meanwhile, Han tries to impress Sojin by promising that he will make her team win and then take a photo together afterward. But when Yunbu arrives at the sports field, everyone is shocked to see that she is wearing a white t-shirt, meaning she is on the white team. Earlier, she had convinced the teacher to let her stay on that team because she had already chosen it fairly in front of the students. Jae had also told the teacher he injured his knee and stepped down as captain, letting an elderly grandmother take his place. Confused, Jae confronts Han about the lie. At the same time, Hunsok questions Seojin for misleading him about Yunbu's team. Seojin coldly replies that it doesn't matter which team Yunbu is on. She also reveals she already knows Yunbu's past. A flashback shows Seojin overhearing her parents talking about Yunbu's scandal in Seoul, believing she had an affair with a student's parent. During the first race, Yunbu becomes distracted after learning Jae won't compete. She falls behind but still manages to pass the baton to the grandmother. Unfortunately, the grandmother runs very slowly. Han then runs incredibly fast for the blue team and takes the lead. In the final moment, however, he accidentally throws the baton into the air, giving Sojin the chance to grab victory for the blue team. While celebrating, the grandmother injures her leg and must leave the game. Jae watches everything with guilt. Yunbu approaches him and pushes his injured knee, realizing he was pretending the injury. She accuses him of sabotaging their team because he is angry at her. Jae denies it, but Yunbu challenges him if he truly wants to know about her past. He must join the game and help the white team win. Only then will she tell him the truth. Jae refuses because he promised Han he wouldn't play. Yunbu reminds him that he also promised the dog Bumsik that he would win a medal. Torn between promises, Jae struggles to decide. Later, Yunbu's mother appears at a press conference, avoiding reporters who ask about her daughter. At school, Hunsok brings Yunbu coffee, but notices she hasn't eaten his food. Instead, she eats the meal Jae sent with a note reminding her to eat properly. Seeing this, Hunsok becomes jealous and leaves angrily. Soon, the second match begins. The blue team already leads the scoreboard. Just as the rope-pulling game starts, Jae suddenly appears wearing the white team shirt. Yunbu is shocked, while the blue team panics. During the intense match, Hunsok accuses Jae of betraying him. Jae responds that Hunsok was the one who betrayed him first. A flashback reveals their past friendship. When they were young, Jae once saved Hunsok from bullies and protected him like a brother. Hunsok later helped Jae with his studies and even offered to pay his college fees. Back in the present, Jae uses all his strength to pull the rope, and the white team wins. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman arrives at Jae's house searching for him, the same woman rumored to be his wife and Han's mother. She learns he is at the school sports event. The final game begins. Each team must throw stones to open a basket, and the first team to do so wins. Jae guides Yunbu on how to throw properly. In the end, Jae himself throws the final stone that opens the basket, giving victory to the white team. Jae and Yunbu celebrate happily, but Seojin becomes upset, which also makes Han sad. The mysterious woman watches the celebration quietly. That night, Han confronts Jae for breaking his promise. Jae admits he only wanted to see Yunbu happy. Han replies that he just wanted Sejin to be happy too, leaving both of them frustrated. Meanwhile, Yunbu dances joyfully near the plant Jae gave her, realizing she is becoming more and more attracted to him. But she soon remembers her promise to tell Jae the truth about her past. Elsewhere, Sojin refuses when her parents try to use her race victory video for promotion. Hoonso comforts her and promises to help her come first in exams. Suddenly, while watching the video again, Sojin notices something strange. Soon after, she decides to meet Han at a restaurant to talk. Han meets Sojin at a restaurant and brings her a cake. Suddenly, she asks him directly if he likes her. Han is completely shocked by the unexpected question, and the scene ends there. Later, Jae and Yunbu visit the clinic to adopt the dog Bumsik. When the doctor asks whose home the dog will live in, both of them raise their hands. They start arguing over who would be the better owner. In the end, Jae gives in and agrees that Yunbu can keep the dog, but he asks to visit it twice a week. As Yunbu prepares to sign the papers, Jae reminds her about the promise she made to tell him the truth about her past. Yunbu avoids answering and says she'll explain everything before the day ends. At the same time, Yunbu's mother is shown in the hospital. Hunsok visits her, and she admits that the situation she feared has finally happened. People have started speaking badly about Yunbu again. Feeling helpless, she asks Hunsok what she should do now. Soon after, Hunsok opens a small law office in the village. His assistant wonders why he would work in a quiet place where there are almost no cases. Hunsok calmly replies that this town is very important to him. Meanwhile, Jae and Yunbu build a small house for Bumsik. Yunbu nervously admits that she has no idea how to raise a pet and worries she adopted the dog too quickly. Jae comforts her by saying that every parent makes mistakes while raising a child. He admits he made many mistakes while raising Han, but love always helps children forgive those mistakes. When the dog's house is finally finished, Yunbu suddenly says, "I love you." Jae is shocked for a moment, but then realizes she was speaking on behalf of Bumsik. Smiling warmly, Jae replies, "I love you too." Later they take the dog for a walk. Jae reminds Yunbu that the day is almost over, meaning her time to tell the truth is running out. He admits he wants to understand why she got so angry with him earlier and wonders if he crossed a line. Yunbu says she became angry because she was afraid she might cross that line herself. Jae is stunned and asks if that means she wants a relationship with him. But Yunbu explains that the problem is exactly the opposite. She cannot cross that line with him. A flashback reveals the reason. After the scandal in Seoul, the father of one of her students began harassing her and even came to her house at night, threatening her and twisting her words. The memory still frightens her. Back in the present, Yunbu explains that because of this experience, she promised herself she would never form personal relationships with the families of her students. Jae then asks her honestly if he were her student's guardian, would she be willing to cross that line? Without thinking, Yunbu says yes, and then becomes embarrassed by her own answer. Hearing this, Jae smiles and says he will wait. When Han finishes school in 2 years, they can finally be together. Yunbu hesitates but asks if he can really wait that long. Jae confidently promises that 2 years is nothing for him, and tells her to trust him. They agree that the day Han graduates will be the first day of their relationship. After that, Jae marks 620 days on his wall, counting down the time until they can be together. He tells himself that until then, Yunbu is only Han's teacher, and he must keep his distance. The next day, the teachers at school are looking through a restaurant window when Yunbu arrives. Inside, they see Jae sitting with a beautiful woman, the same woman rumored to be Han's mother. When the woman suddenly grabs Jae's hand, Yunbu becomes furious. The teachers keep praising the woman's beauty, which only makes Yunbu angrier, and she storms away. Back at home, Yunbu convinces herself that everyone was right about Jae being a terrible man. But when she remembers the teachers praising the other woman's beauty, she looks at herself in the mirror and decides she will prove that she is just as charming. The next morning, Jae and Han are having breakfast. Jae asks Han about his relationship with Seojin. Han sadly admits it is over. A flashback shows Seojin asking if he liked her. Instead of answering honestly, Han became defensive and mocked her, saying that winning sports competitions doesn't mean she will succeed academically. Now he deeply regrets his harsh words. Back in the present, Jae advises Han to always speak honestly like a man instead of hiding his feelings. Han then asks about Jae and Yunbu. Jae proudly says he confessed directly and will wait 2 years for her. Han laughs and warns that a lot can change in 2 years. But Jae firmly replies that Yoonbu is the most important person in his life, and he will wait no matter how long it takes. Later, Jae drops Han off at school. A group of students are taking photos with someone, and it turns out to be Yoonbu. She looks especially beautiful with flowers around her. Embarrassed and nervous, Jae quickly hides his face and runs away before she can talk to him. He spends the rest of the day working in the fields to distract himself. The village women joke that whenever Jae gets emotional, he comes to work in the fields. Jae keeps reminding himself that he must wait patiently because Yoonbu is still Han's teacher. That evening, Yoonbu struggles to open the door of her house. Jae passes by, but when she asks for help, just like the first time they met, he refuses to even look at her and quickly walks away.
At home, Jae asks Han if the time machine project he is working on is finished yet. When Han says it isn't ready, Jae becomes frustrated and goes to his room. Meanwhile, Yoonbu tries climbing over her wall, blaming Jae for leaving her alone. She suddenly loses her balance and almost falls, but Hoon-seok arrives just in time and catches her. When Yoonbu asks why he's there, Hoon-seok casually replies that he was just out for a jog. Hoon-seok invites Yoonbu for coffee over the weekend if she has time, and she agrees. The next day, Jae is struggling to control his emotions and tries calming himself through meditation. Soon, he receives a call from Hoon-seok and meets him at a restaurant. Hoon-seok reminds Jae of an old promise he once made during a challenge, that if he lost, he would join the military, eat onions at a kebab shop, and even call Hoon-seok darling. Jae admits he already tried to join the military but was rejected, though he is still willing to complete the other promises. While leaving, Hoon-seok notices the scar on Jae's hand and asks if the rumors about Jae's father are true. Jae becomes furious, saying this is exactly why they can never be real friends. Hoon-seok believes rumors instead of trusting him. As Jae storms off, Hoon-seok hands him his business card, saying he has opened a law office in the town and will help him anytime. Jae coldly replies that he would rather go to jail than ask for his help. Just then, Yoonbu calls Hoon-seok. Hearing her name, Jae immediately returns and demands to know why she called him, but Hoon-seok refuses to explain. Meanwhile, Jae goes back to working on the farm. Around the village, people are worried because a thief has been reported nearby, and everyone is warned to lock their gates at night. The next morning, Yoonbu meets Hoon-seok for breakfast and explains that she invited him because she wants him to give a lecture at her school. She also asks why he moved to such a quiet town. Hoon-seok says he wants to help people here with old legal cases and assures her that he will always help if she needs it. Later, Yoonbu and Hoon-seok walk through the neighborhood when they suddenly notice police cars outside her house. Rushing over, they learn a thief was reported there. Yoonbu runs inside and is shocked to see the thief is actually Jae. Jae tries explaining to the police that he only came to visit Bum-sik, but they still arrest him. At that moment, a locksmith arrives to fix the lock. Jae recognizes him and angrily chases him down the street, suspecting something is wrong. In the park, the man tries attacking Jae with a hammer, but Jae breaks free from his handcuffs and knocks him down. Soon Yoonbu, Hoon-seok, and the police arrive. Despite Jae's explanation, the locksmith claims Jae attacked him and threatens to file a case. Hoon-seok offers to defend Jae as a lawyer, but Jae stubbornly refuses his help, saying he would rather stay in jail. Yoonbu becomes angry at his stubbornness and tells him to stop acting foolish and accept Hoon-seok's help. When Jae still refuses, she storms away. That night, Yoonbu can't stop worrying. People in town keep talking about Jae possibly going to jail, and the thought makes her restless. Meanwhile, Jae sleeps peacefully in his jail cell. The next day, Jae is suddenly released. Confused, he goes straight to Hoon-seok's office, where Hoon-seok asks him to sign a legal agreement saying he will pay for any trouble in the future. Jae asks if Hoon-seok secretly helped him get released, but Hoon-seok jokingly says his legal fee would be 4 billion won if Jae wants the full story. Jae simply leaves without responding. Later, Jae and Yoonbu run into each other at the market but avoid speaking. Yoonbu ends up carrying too many heavy items, and even though Jae notices, he refuses to help at first. When she struggles with a large flower pot meant for Jae's plant, he finally steps in and carries it home for her. At Yoonbu's house, the two sit awkwardly in silence. Yoonbu wants to ask about the woman she saw with him earlier, but instead asks how he spent his weekend. Jae casually says he only did chores at home. Yoonbu doesn't believe him and becomes upset, accusing him of breaking his promise. Jae gets frustrated and says he has been struggling because of her. In anger, Yoonbu tells him to forget the promise altogether. Hurt by her words, Jae agrees and says he hopes she stays happy before walking away. Later, Yoonbu regrets her behavior. In a flashback, she is seen begging the locksmith to drop the case against Jae. When he refuses, she even kneels and offers to buy all his locks. Finally, she promises to get him concert tickets from her famous mother. Though she hesitates, Yoonbu ends up calling her mother just to get those tickets, shocking her parents. When Jae hears what Yoonbu did to help him, he rushes to find her. Yoonbu angrily asks why he came back after leaving her. Jae confronts her about secretly helping him while pretending to hate him. Unable to hide her feelings, Yoonbu bursts into tears and admits she thought he broke his promise because she saw him holding hands with another woman. Jae apologizes and admits he couldn't control his emotions anymore. Overcome with feelings, he suddenly kisses her, her heart racing. From outside, Jae quickly apologizes, saying he lost control because of the strong emotions in his heart. Yoonbu admits that if there was a fire between them, she might have been the one who started it. Still, she demands to know who the woman was. Jae lies and says she was only an insurance agent who kept bothering him about buying a policy. Yoonbu questions this story but eventually accepts it. In reality, the woman was Jae's estranged sister. A flashback shows Jae once warning her never to appear in his life again. With the misunderstanding cleared, Jae reminds Yoonbu that he will still wait 2 years for her. As he slowly walks away, he returns with another idea, asking if they could take a one-day break from the 2-year waiting rule. If they could spend just 1 day together like a real couple, it would make the waiting easier. After thinking about it, Yoonbu agrees and chooses a day after the school trip. Elsewhere, Hansak stops Yoonbu's mother from rushing to the town after receiving her daughter's phone call asking for concert tickets. He assures her that everything is part of his plan and promises he will bring Yoonbu back home soon. The next day, Jae is in an unusually good mood, happily walking down the road. The village grandmothers even wonder if he has gone crazy from happiness. At school, Hoon-seok arrives to give a lecture. Teacher Jang introduces him as a very successful lawyer before he begins speaking. During his speech, Hoon-seok talks about how success is not only about wealth, but about standing beside someone when they need you the most. He extends his hand toward Yoonbu while saying he will always stand beside the people who trust him. His words remind Yoonbu of the painful time when she was falsely accused and even her own family doubted her. The powerful speech deeply moves both the teachers and students, earning loud applause. Meanwhile, Han spends the entire lecture secretly staring at Seojin, but she never once looks back at him. In the next scene, Jae is happily washing dishes at home when Han walks in and asks him for a favor. He wants Jae to prepare delicious food for their class when the Green Club comes for their field trip. However, Jae seems lost in his own thought. Attention. Han finally shouts to get his attention and asks why he has been acting so strangely lately. Jae admits the truth after Han's field trip. He and Yoonbu are planning to go on a date. Han teases him and says that if Jae doesn't do something impressive, Yoonbu might get bored of him. He explains how Seojin's brother, Hoon-seok, recently visited the school in a suit and gave an amazing speech that impressed everyone. Even Yoonbu clapped loudly for him. Hearing this makes Jae a little jealous, but he confidently says that during the field trip, Yoonbu will see his own charm. The next day at school during lunch, the teachers are still talking about Hoon-seok's speech. Teacher Jung praises him and says his words deeply moved her. The PT teacher then compares Hoon-seok and Jae, pointing out how different they are despite being the same age. Jung even mentions rumors about Jae fighting someone while handcuffed and wonders why girls like such a rough man. Hearing this, Yoonbu becomes upset and defends Jae. She explains that he wasn't fighting, he was actually catching a thief, and the woman seen with him was only an aggressive insurance agent. When the teachers question how she knows all this, Yoonbu realizes she has said too much. Feeling embarrassed, she quickly makes an excuse about the field trip and leaves. As Yoonbu walks away, Ms. Hisuk follows her and asks directly if something is going on between her and Jae. Yoonbu nervously denies it. Isuk then reveals that her son once saw Jae visiting Yoonbu's house. At first, she thought Jae was a dangerous man because of his tattoo. But after seeing him help catch a thief at the sports festival, she believes he is actually a good person. She also notices Yoonbu has been looking brighter lately and jokingly suggests she must be dating someone. Yoonbu quickly explains that Jae only came to see the dog she adopted. Before the conversation can continue, the school bus arrives for the trip, and Yoonbu quickly leaves. As she rides the bus, she reminds herself to act distant around Jae so the students won't suspect anything.
Soon the students arrive at the power plant for their field trip. Yoonbu asks Jae's friend Jun where Jae is. June contacts him on a walkie-talkie, and suddenly everyone looks up to see Jae descending from a wind turbine using a rope. The students are amazed by the dramatic sight and think it looks like an action movie scene. Yoonbu is also impressed and almost cheers for him. But then she remembers her plan to act indifferent and quickly hides her excitement. Jae explains how the wind power plant works and tells the students that they constantly check the turbines to protect them from damage. One student excitedly says he now wants to work in energy instead of becoming an idol's husband. Jae then asks Yoonbu what she thinks about the power plant. Expecting praise, he is surprised when she simply says it is very tall. Jae continues the tour and shows them the solar power facility, explaining the company's plans for future growth. When he again asks Yoonbu for her opinion, she calmly says it's not bad, leaving Jae slightly disappointed. Seojin then asks if they can meet the company's CEO before leaving. A little later, June leads everyone to the CEO's office. The students are excited, but they are shocked when they discover that Jae himself is the CEO of the company. Yoonbu is especially stunned. Jae confirms the truth, and Han proudly praises his uncle, saying he is perfect husband, material strong, successful, and handsome. Embarrassed, Jae quickly tells him to stop. He then teasingly asks Yoonbu what she thinks of the CEO. Yoonbu gets annoyed and says if they had known earlier, they would have asked better questions about the company. After that, everyone gathers outside for lunch while Jae grills meat. Yoonbu sits far away, avoiding him. Jae notices her behavior and asks Han why their teacher seems upset. Feeling uncomfortable, Yoonbu leaves for a walk. At Han's suggestion, Jae follows her. Meanwhile, Han gives the best grilled meat to Sejin, which makes the other students curious. Sojin asks why he gave it all to her. Han awkwardly says it's his choice to share it with anyone he wants. But Seojin suddenly returns the notebooks he gave her earlier and says she no longer needs his help because she now has a better teacher. She even refuses the meat, saying she's on a diet, and gives it to the other students. Han feels embarrassed and hurt. Nearby, Yoonbu is alone thinking about Jae. She scolds herself for getting excited earlier when she saw him in a suit. Even though she planned to act cold, she couldn't help noticing how handsome he looked. Just then, Jae explains that the teachers have already started gossiping about them, and even the students are joking about him being husband material. She says the rumors are getting out of control and that they cannot go on their planned date. Hearing this, Jae feels his heart sink. Jae tells Yoonbu that she has no idea how much the state means to him. He says he has been smiling for days just thinking about it. Yoonbu worries that if someone sees them together, they could get into trouble. But Jae promises he will plan everything carefully so that no one will notice. He says he will take her somewhere beautiful where they can be alone. After the field trip, Sejin returns home feeling excited about the day. During her study session, Hyunsuk asks why she came late. Sejin suddenly asks him if feeding someone meat means a boy is proposing. Hyunsuk looks confused, not understanding who she is talking about. Sejin quickly acts proud and says she would never chase a boy that every girl likes, nor would she fall for someone just because he was kind to her. Hyunsuk tells her that no matter who she likes, he will always support her. But first, she needs to focus on beating Han in the exams. Even while studying, Sejin's mind keeps drifting back to Han. The next morning at 4 o'clock, Jae arrives early to pick up Yoonbu for their secret date. Yoonbu is surprised to see him so early and complains that she hasn't even washed her face yet. Jae smiles and tells her she already looks beautiful. He then takes her to the beach so they can watch the sunrise together. Jae proudly explains that almost no one comes there that early, so they don't have to worry about being seen. He even brought food and a blanket to keep her warm. As they sit together watching the sunrise, Yoonbu gently rests her head on Jae's shoulder, making him very happy. But their peaceful moment suddenly gets interrupted when some people arrive for a morning jog, including teachers Jong and Won. Yoonbu panics and hides under the blanket while Jae tries to act calm, the group sitting quietly alone. Just when he thinks they are leaving, they return and decide to sit with him and watch the sunrise. They even eat the food Jae prepared for Yoonbu. After they finally leave, Jae and Yoonbu sigh with relief, trying to save the date. Jae next takes Yoonbu to a restaurant in the mountains that he thought was a secret place. However, when they arrive, they are shocked to see the school principal there with his wife. The principal notices them and asks if they came together. Both of them quickly pretend they arrived separately, acting like strangers. The principal explains that it is his wedding anniversary, and this restaurant is where he had his first date with his wife 32 years ago. Hearing that, Yoonbu realizes the place isn't a secret at all, and glares at Jae. Because of the awkward situation, they have to sit at different tables to eat. After that, Jae brings Yoonbu to an amusement park, hoping things will go better. Yoonbu actually likes the idea of being in a crowded place where no one would suspect them. She wants to try the haunted house first. But while they are there, Yoonbu suddenly spots teacher Hisuf nearby and quickly pulls Jae inside to avoid being recognized. Inside the haunted attraction, a girl dressed as a ghost jumps out with a fake knife to scare them.